Welcome to this week's episode of Big Lab Chats, and today, no guests, it's another solo episode from me. Apparently you liked the last one, so I'm back again. This week's episode is brought to you by the BLC crew. You get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to bonus episodes and insider content. We've just announced today that the BLC crew membership will now have its own private group. Exclusive extended podcast episodes. You get access to full uncut versions of Big Lab Chats. There's an interactive travel and research map. There's premium ad-free content. So you wouldn't be hearing this message if you were a crew member. There's exclusive discounts and special offers. The companies that we partner with give exclusive discounts and savings to members only, including 25% off my ebook, Planning a Lap of Australia. Also starting some Q&A sessions next Sunday afternoon where you can ask me anything, get real-time tips and share your experiences with others in the community. It's $10 a month or $100 for the year. If this sounds like your kind of community, we'd be thrilled to have you join us. Today I'm sharing 5 things I wish I knew before we set off. Tips that have saved us some money and time and a few headaches. And they come from our lived experiences on the road. We've been on the road now for 2 years, in case you didn't know that. And the following are our top 5 tips. Tip number 1, your setup will evolve. And that's a good thing. So you don't have to have every single piece of gear perfect before you leave, because there are shops everywhere around Australia. And it's not until you live in your van full time will you get an idea of what you need and what you don't need. We did a round trip down from the Gold Coast to Bendigo, actually, and back. And that was our first trip. I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend somewhere that's pretty close to where you live, maybe 20 or 30 kilometres away if you can. And if you are planning to stay off grid as much as possible on your trip around Australia, then by all means stay off grid for the weekend or a couple of days, however many days you've got planned, and really get to know your van. But there'll always be something that you're not quite happy with. Now, before we set off and when we were designing our van, we thought that we'd bring our air fryer from home and we'd sort of design the kitchen area where this air fryer would sit. Now, our air fryer isn't a traditional type of shape of air fryers. If you're thinking, say, the Kmart air fryers that are narrow and large, I'm talking about one that looks like a microwave. So it's about the size of a microwave, and it bakes and roasts and grills, slow cooks, does pizzas and air fries. So it's like 7 or 8 functions in one type of air fryer. The manufacturer of our Caravan actually didn't want us to put that in because they thought it would be a fire hazard. So we designed a cabinet with enough airflow around it. And that was fine, but the reality of it was a big open space. It really didn't suit the setup as we thought it would. After about 9 months, we started to rethink the placement of things. We hadn't taken a barbecue with us because we had an old Weber baby Q that we left at home. We thought we'd be able to do without that. At the time, we had a large Dometic slide-out kitchen, which we found to be a bit of a pain, actually. In even just the slightest breeze, the gas wouldn't light or it wouldn't stay alight. We spent nearly $300 on a huge stainless steel windbreak that we had specifically designed around the setup that we had. So it protected, or what we thought it would protect, the gas burners, but it didn't. We decided that we would sell that and then replace it with a fridge slide. We just bought a Dometic fridge slide, and now we have our air fryer outside in our tunnel boot, and also we bought a sizzler barbecue as well. Now we think we have the best setup for us. Don't worry about having everything right before you leave, because your setup will evolve. The second thing is to travel slower than you think. When we set off, we were all guns blazing on our second night, I think it was. No, on our first night on the road. We travelled from Harvey Bay to Calliope, stayed at the free camp there by the river. And that's when we decided, instead of going, we were heading north, but really didn't sort of have any destination. We were going to go to Cairns, or we were going to go do Cape York at the time, because we left in June, so it was perfect time to do it. What we decided to do was, rather than head north, we turned left just before Rockhampton and headed out into the Queensland outback. That first night on the road, we decided we'd stay an extra night just to sort of decompress. It was fairly hectic, as it will be if you haven't left yet. It doesn't matter how well you plan or how organised you are, it seems to be an exhausting sort of exercise getting out the door and getting out your driveway. Just take it slow. I mean, in the that first night, we decided we'd go and see some friends in Corumba, of all places, up in the Gulf country. And then our plans after that evolved as well. We thought, well, while we're in the northern part of Queensland, we might as well go across to Savannah Way and up to Cape York. So that's what we did. Took us a good 12 months really to slow down. Now, I understand if you've only got a certain amount of time that you will be rushed. You won't see everything on your 12-month lap if you're only doing 12 months. So make a list, write down on your list what is a must-see, unequivocally, no compromise, I have to go and see that type of places. And then really think about staying in places longer, 3 to 4 days rather than an overnighter. And sure, we do overnighters as well when we have to get to a certain place where we have to be at a certain time, or there's no towns for hundreds of kilometres. We will stay overnight and do an overnighter if you can, especially if you're travelling with kids. They get way more tired than we do with all that pent up energy sitting in a car. I would suggest that you just take it slower. Travelling slower actually sort of lessens the stress on your budget and your energy levels as well. The third thing is budget for the unexpected. Yes, you might have a new car, you might have a new caravan, but there's always something. Like for us, we changed our setup, so there was expense there setting that up. We haven't had to sort of, touch wood, make any detours for repairs, etc. One thing that I didn't allow for when we first left was, as strange as it might seem, winter clothes. I barely had any. Within our first year, I was into the shops stocking up because we'd hit South Australia. It was April, May at that time, and it was pretty cool for us. Being from Queensland, we used to warmer weather. It wasn't a great expense, but they're the expenses that you might not budget. And even in the warmer places up north in Australia and in the centre, the nights and the mornings are quite cool. So you will need a pair of track pants or a hoodie or something like that. That's one thing worth thinking about before you go. Don't leave your winter clothes behind. Make sure you pack a couple of items with you. And as I've said before, your road trip will change, and that's okay. Flexibility often leads to the best adventures we've found. As I mentioned, we headed up to Corumba, over the Savannah Way, and up to Cape York, where we met some lovely people, as you do, filling up water tanks in Mariba just before we left to head up to the Cape, and we're still in contact with those people today. So don't worry about your plans changing, because they often will. And that's when you just have the best adventures and find those hidden gems that everyone loves. And the fifth thing is community is everything. The value that you can connect with other travellers, whether it be through a Facebook group or whether it be actually on the road, which of course it's way better to meet people in person. That makes your trip even richer for the experience. If you're wondering about Facebook groups to join. I admin 2 Facebook groups. One is Planning a Lap of Australia Hints and Tips. That has over 155,000 people in there. It's quite active. People ask a lot of questions. The group has been formed now for many, many years, so the search function will come in handy if there's a particular answer that you're looking for your question and nobody's answering it. I'm sure it's been asked before in the group. And the other one is Caravanning for Newbies Australia. That is for brand new people. The questions that I ask people for joining are set up mainly to find out a little bit about people and also to stop spammers. There's a lot of spammers wanting to get into groups and cause havoc. And one of them is, why do you want to join? And a lot of the comments are, we want to go caravanning and know absolutely nothing about caravanning. It's a safe community. I'm in several times a day and there's no nonsense. I'm quite happy to block and ban people if they're disrespectful to other people. And I have no tolerance for rudeness or bullying. Feel free, if you're not members of the groups already, it's quite fine if you want to join both groups. We have a lot of beginners in the Planning a Lap of Australia group as well, so don't be shy, you can join up. Everything that I've mentioned today, they'll be in the show notes. So head on over to allaroundoz.com.au/podcast, where you can see all the podcasts. I think from memory this is either episode 18 or 19 now. I've interviewed some fantastic guests and they have lots of hints and tips, so make sure you go and listen to them. Download the show notes because there's a lot of information in those show notes as well. So today we've covered 5 things I wish I knew before I set off on our big lap. What tips would you have for people starting out on their big lap if you're already on the road? Drop a comment in the podcast episode and I'm sure that will help a lot of travellers as well. Thanks for joining me again this week, and it's great to have you here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye for now.
This is the Big Lap Chats podcast, where our mission is to help caravanners and campers plan their ultimate lap of Australia. Whether you're dreaming of hitting the road or already travelling, we provide all the information and tools you'll need to bring your dream to life. Tune in as our expert host, Annette Jones, chats with Australia's big lappers, caravanners and campers, sharing hints and tips for creating the best memories while travelling around Australia. Be sure to check out Annette's website, All Around Oz, Australia's leading site for planning a lap of Australia. But now, settle in and hit play while you're on the road and listen as Annette delivers today's episode.
G'day and welcome to Big Lap Chats. I'm Annette, and right now I'm living full-time on the road doing the big lap around Australia. So if you're dreaming of hitting the road yourself, or you're deep in the planning phases and feel totally overwhelmed, you're in the right place. I started this podcast because, honestly, when I was planning our lap, I felt lost. I was watching YouTube videos, getting stuck in Facebook threads, and still second-guessing every decision. So there's so much information out there. But trying to piece it all together, well, that's the hard part. So I created Big Lap Chats as the podcast I wish I had when I was driving backwards and forwards to work on my commute, or simply driving around town. BLC, Big Lap Chats, is a place where you can hear real conversations with people who've done the lap or are constantly on the road full time. No fluff, no filters, just honest stories and smart advice. And there's a little bit of banter along the way. We'll talk all about the big stuff: budgeting, gear, safety, travelling with kids, homeschooling, solo travel, where some of the best camps are around the country, and lots more. So whether you're towing a van, a motorhome or a bus, it doesn't matter. Or even if you're still dreaming from your car on your way to work and back, my hope for you is that you'll walk away from each episode with more confidence and more clarity, and maybe even a laugh or two. So grab a cuppa or your favourite beverage, or hit play on the road, and let's kick things off. This is Big Lap Chats.
Thanks for tuning in to Big Lap Chats. We hope today's episode helped you take another step towards planning your lap of Australia. And if you're already on the road, we hope you picked up some great tips on where to stay and what to see and do along the way. If you found it helpful, we'd love your feedback. Head over to allaroundoz.com.au/podcast, where you can also download the show notes and find more resources to help with your journey. We'll be back next week with more tips and stories about caravanning, camping, and planning your lap of Australia. Until then, happy travels.